Hello friends, welcome to my English classroom. I am your English teacher Sheikh Rafi. Today in this video, I am going to start the second unit from your English textbook. If you look at the index page of your textbook, you will find that there are 3 readings given in this unit. The first one, A reading, Oliver asks for more. B reading is a poem, The Cry of Children. And C reading is another lesson with the title Reaching the Unreached. Dear children, before entering into this unit, let us first understand what is the theme of this unit. The theme is social issues. Now, social issues means challenges or problems existing in the society. India is a very vast country and it is a highly populated country. When we look at this country, we find that there are many challenges, many problems, many issues existing in our country. Problems like corruption, problem like criminality, unemployment, illiteracy, women harassment, mafia, smuggling, child trafficking. So many such problems are there. Now these problems are called social issues. But in this unit, we are not going to talk about all these problems. We are going to talk specifically about the issues related to children. Now you may have a doubt, sir, do children have issues in this society? Definitely children. Children are a very important part of the society. We generally say that children are the future citizens. And if the children are not protected, definitely the future of any country or even the world will not be safe. So let us try to understand what are the issues related to children. There are a number of issues. For example, orphan children, it's a big issue. Illiteracy among children is a big issue. Child labor is an issue. Child marriages is an issue. Then we have child abuse, we have child trafficking. So in this way, we can find that there are a number of issues related to children. So in this unit, we are going to focus on some of these issues. So with this background, let us enter into the unit. I want all of you to look at page number 18, the face sheet of this unit. Read the saying given below and answer the questions that follows. Now they have given a moral there. Home is the happiest place in the world. The meaning is very simple, children. I hope all of you can understand this. Now the first question given is, what does the sentence means? The meaning is very simple. There are many places where a man can find happiness. But out of all those places, it is the home which is the happiest place. Why? Because we get safety, security, and above all, love and affection and caring of our family members. So home is the happiest place in the world. See the second question. Do you agree or disagree with the view expressed in it? Why? I think that is what we just explained. Children, humans are social animals. We cannot live individually like the animals live in forests. We have to live in society. And when we talk about society, home is the basic society in which a human being lives. So naturally, he gets whatever he wants. He learns whatever he wants from this basic society. So a family includes parents, children, grandparents, uncles, aunts, all those people. Now here is what he gets the best. And hence we can say that home is the happiest place in the world. So let us enter into the unit and let us first discuss about the author of this lesson. Look at page number 22. They have given about the author. Charles Dickens, 1812 to 1870, is a well-known English novelist. Due to his father's imprisonment, Charles left school and worked in a shoe factory. While he was working as an office boy, he launched his career in writing. His novels Oliver Twist, Great Expectations, Pickwick Papers, Bleak House, A Tale of Two Cities, and David Copperfield brought him name all over the world. Now these are very famous novels, children, and if you get a chance to read them, definitely do that. He went on lecture tours to America and got literary reputation. He focused on social issues and human ailments in his works. So you can understand that Charles Dickens mainly focused on social issues. As the title of the lesson says, Oliver asks for more. You can understand that this has been taken from the novel Oliver Twist. So with this background about the author, let us see the lesson A reading, page number 19. All of you look at that. This is an extract from the novel Oliver Twist, written by the British novelist Charles Dickens. So very clearly at the very beginning of the lesson, they have given that this is an extract. This is not the complete novel. It is only an extract, a part taken from the novel Oliver Twist. It is the story of an orphan boy named Oliver who is brought to a children's home. So we can understand that the main character in this novel or in this story is Oliver Twist. Oliver. So Oliver is an orphan boy. Orphan means children without parents. Children without parents. So he is an orphan boy and he is brought to children's home. Now what is children's home? Nowadays we call it as orphanages. Now in orphanages generally children are taken care, they are fed, they are educated, and they are made suitable for societies. But see the name here, children's home is a bit different place. A children's home is a place generally in olden days we used to have it, where orphan children used to be put, they used to be educated. Education was just for the namesake, but these children were made to work. These children were made to work. So here we are going to find two things. We are going to find the problem of orphan children, and second we are going to find the problem of child labor. Right? So let us continue, see what he says. Mr. Bumble walked on with long strides. Little Oliver, firmly grasping his gold lace cuff, trotted beside him. So at the very first scene we find there is a person called Mr. Bumble. Mr. Bumble is Beadle. Beadle means an official in a church. An official in a church. He works in a church. So he is walking with long strides. Long strides means long steps. So he is a grown man. He is a grown-up man. He is an adult. So he is walking with the long steps, and along with him, who is coming there? The little Oliver. He is a very small kid and he is grasping his gold lace cuff. There is a lace cuff in his neck. So he is holding them and he is trotting besides him. Trotting means running with short steps. So Bumble is a grown-up man. He can walk quickly. But little Oliver is a kid. So he has to run to catch up with him. See the next para. Oliver had not been within the walls of the workhouse a quarter of an hour when Mr. Bumble informed him that the board had said he was to appear before it forthwith. Now that is the scene. It had been hardly quarter of an hour. That is hardly 15 minutes had passed when this little boy Oliver was brought into the workhouse, and immediately he was informed by Mr. Bumble that board wants to see him. Now what is a board? Children, board here doesn't refer to blackboards. Board here refers to the members of any organization who run that organization. Generally, in all institutions and organizations, we have some senior officials. people who run, who administrate, who control the organization. Such members are called board members. So the committee of the members is called board. So the boards wanted to meet the little boy Oliver. So that was informed by Mr. Bumble. So we can understand that now Bumble is taking the little Oliver to the board. So see what happens there. Not having a very clearly defined notion of what a live board was, Oliver was rather astonished by this information and was not quite certain whether he ought to laugh or cry. Now that is the situation of this little boy. When Bumble came and informed Oliver that board wants to see you, now this little boy, he had no clear notion about what is a board. Notion means idea. So the little boy had no idea what a board means. So he didn't understand what Bumble was telling. So he didn't understand whether he should laugh or cry over the information. So he is a little boy. He doesn't know that whether this is a happy occasion or whether this is a sad occasion. If board wants to see him, generally, when somebody says board wants to meet you, people will get a little bit afraid. So this boy, he doesn't have any clear notion about the board. So he doesn't understand whether he has to cry or laugh. He had no time to think about the matter. Mr. Bumble asked Oliver to follow him into a large whitewashed room where 8 or 10 fat gentlemen were sitting round a table. So Oliver had no time to think over what a board is. Within the meantime, Mr. Bumble took him to the board itself. Now the board was sitting in a large whitewashed room. Whitewash means, right, you would have seen the painting done at home with the white color. It is called whitewashed. So Mr. Bumble took him into a large whitewashed room where around 8 to 10 fat gentlemen were sitting around the table. Can you understand who these gentlemen are? They are board members. They are board members. All these members together are called board. And what do? They run, they administrate, they control the workhouse. They control the workhouse. So, at the top of the table, seated in an armchair rather higher than the rest, was a particularly fat gentleman with a very round and red-faced. So among these 8 to 10 gentlemen, there was one gentleman who was rather fat compared to all others, and he was sitting on a little bit higher chair. So can you guess who he could be? He is the chairman, or we can say he is the head of the board. Right? So he was sitting there, and how was he? He had a very round and red-faced. Bow to the board, said Bumble. Bowing means, yes, bending a little bit in front of others. It is a mark of respect. Generally in ancient times, we can find people used to bow before kings and queens. So here what he is asking, Mr. Bumble asked the little boy, bow to the board. Oliver brushed away 2 or 3 tears that were lingering in his eyes. The little boy was afraid. He was, literally crying. So tears were coming out of his eyes. So he simply wiped off those tears. And seeing no board but the table, bowed to that. So Oliver looked here and there. He couldn't find any board. He found only the table. So what does this mean? This means that the little boy, he didn't understood what a board means. So he was looking for a board like this. So he looked here and there in the room. He couldn't find any board. He saw only a table. So what did the little boy do? He bowed to the table. He bowed to the table. See next what happens. What is your name, boy? Said the gentleman in the high chair. So gentleman sitting in the high chair, that is the chairman. He asked the little boy, what is your name, boy? Oliver was frightened at the sight of so many gentlemen, which made him tremble. He was shaken a little bit. when the gentleman suddenly asked him a question. This boy is a very little boy. No, he's very young, hardly around 9 or 10 years old. And when small children are covered by large people and they ask questions, what has happens? They generally get funked, they get afraid. So this boy, little bit, he trembled. He didn't answer the question, he trembled. So what happens there? See, the beadle gave him a tap on his back with his cane, which made him cry. So when the boy trembled, when the boy didn't answer, the beadle, that is Mr. Bumble, he immediately gave a tap on the back of a boy. Tap means beating. He bet the little Oliver on his back with the cane. You can see the image given there. Mr. Bumble is standing there. Of course, Mr. Bumble is also a very fat man. See, you can see his stomach bulging out of his coat. So he's having a he's having a cane with him, and with that cane he bet the little Oliver. Why? Because he didn't answer the question. So what happened? He started crying again. The little boy started crying again. "Boy," said the gentleman in the high chair, "listen to me. You know you are an orphan, I suppose." Now see, this is the second question asked by the board. The first question they asked, "What is your name?" Oliver was not able to understand. He didn't even know what a board means. And here they are asking the second question, "Do you know you are an orphan?" Now we should understand that little Oliver doesn't know what is the meaning of an orphan. So see what happens there. "You know you are an orphan, I suppose." "What is that, sir?" inquired poor Oliver. So poor Oliver, little Oliver, he directly asked, "What is that, sir? What do you mean by orphan?" So "The boy is fool, I thought he was," said the gentleman in white waistcoat. So another gentleman, when he heard the boy asking question, "What is an orphan?" So this another gentleman, he calls the boy as a fool. He is a little boy. It is a little boy. He is a fool. He doesn't know what an orphan is. Turn the page. Come to page number 20. "Hush," said the gentleman who had spoken first. "You know you have got no father or mother, and that you were brought up by the parish, weren't you?" Now here the gentleman sitting in the high chair, he is explaining the meaning of an orphan. He says to the little Oliver, "You know you have got no father or mother. You were brought up by the parish." What is parish? Parish is a committee in a church. Generally in olden days, ancient days, the orphan children were taken care by a committee in the church. Now that committee is called parish. So the gentleman says, "You were brought up by the parish, weren't you?" So Oliver asks. "Yes, sir," replied Oliver, weeping bitterly. He is weeping, he is crying. Why? Because he was bet by Mr. Bumble. "What are you crying for?" inquired the gentleman in the white waistcoat. Now the gentleman is asking a question. Why are you crying? As if the gentleman doesn't understand. Do you think the gentleman understands why the little boy is crying? No, the gentleman do not understand. They are highly insensitive towards the children's issue. Right? He doesn't understand why the child is crying. See, that's a common sense, because he was bet. You should understand that he's a little child, and if he stands in front of, so many gentlemen, literally they will be afraid. And how can you ask a direct question to children? Are you an orphan? Now, these questions, they hurt people. They hurt people. So we should be sensitive when we talk to others. Now see the language of the author here. These people, they are insensitive. They don't understand the problems of children. But yet the author calls him gentleman, gentleman, gentleman. So even further, you are going to notice this thing. And I'll tell you what is the speciality of such type of writing. See there. "What are you crying for?" inquired the gentleman in the white waistcoat. "I hope you say your prayers every night," said another gentleman in a gruff voice, and pray for the people who feed you and take care of you like a Christian. So another gentleman is asking, I hope you pray every day. You pray for the people who take care of you. Now see, he's only a 10 years kid. Do you think he will do prayers every day like other people? And he has to pray for not himself. He has to pray for the people who take care of him. Who are the people who are taking care of him? The officials of church. So he has to pray for the officials of the church who has taken care of him and who feed him, who give him food. See the answer. The boy says, yes sir, stammered the boy. Yes sir, stammered the boy. Stammered means not being able to speak clearly. Not being able to speak clearly. Well, you have come here to be educated and taught a useful trade, said the red-faced gentleman in the high chair. So immediately the red-faced gentleman in the high chair, he explains the purpose why he is brought to the workplace. Why he has come there? He has come there to be educated and taught a useful trade. Trade means a vocation, a training, right? People need to be trained in doing some work. For example, a carpenter or a plumber. Now these are vocations. They are called trades. People need to learn these skills. So immediately the gentleman says, you have come here to be educated and taught a useful trade, said the red gentleman in the high chair. So you will begin to pick oakum tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, added the surly one in the white waistcoat. So again the person in the white waistcoat, he told the boy what is the work he has to do. And the work allotted to him is to pick oakum. He has to pick oakum. What is oakum? Oakum is again the fibers or the threads which are extracted from old ropes, right? So children used to collect the old ropes from different places and they were supposed to separate the threads from the rope. Now that is the work which was allotted to him. So you have to pick oakum tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. Oliver bowed low, directed by the beadle. So beadle again asked the boy to bow to the board and was then hurried away to a large ward where on a rough hard bed he sobbed himself to sleep. So the meeting was over and little Oliver was taken back from the large whitewashed room to another large hall, right? It was a ward where generally all orphan children used to sleep and he was let there. And how was it? He had to sleep on a hard, rough bed and there he sobbed. Sobbed means again crying. He continued crying and he slept while crying itself. So let us see further. Poor Oliver, as he lay sleeping, unconscious of everything around him, the board had taken a decision that would change the course of his life. Now here one more thing is going on. So we understood that Oliver went and he slept. Now while he was sleeping, while he was unconscious means unaware, not being aware. When he was unaware of everything around him, the board had taken an important decision, a decision that would change the course of his life. Now here the author brings one more twist in the story, right? So Oliver is sleeping. Meanwhile, the board in the boardroom, they continued and they took one more decision. And the author says that this decision was going to change the life of little Oliver. How? What was the decision? Let us try to understand in the next para. The members of this board were very wise and philosophical men. Now see, the author says the board members are very wise, they are very intelligent, they are very clever and philosophical men. Philosophical men means people who have seen life very closely, people who understands everything, highly intellectual people. Such people are called philosophical people. Now you will understand whether the author really says that they were very wise and philosophical men or is it otherwise. So you will understand. See there, what happens there? The members of this board were very wise and philosophical men. As they turned their attention to the workhouse, they discovered that it was the regular place of public entertainment for the poor classes. Now, the board observed that the workhouse has become a place of entertainment for the poorer classes. The people here, the poor people, the orphan people who are living in the workhouse, they are actually not doing the work. They are having fun, they are having enjoyment, and the workhouse has become a place of entertainment for them. Now you have to understand what the author says here in this para is totally opposite. It is the thoughts of the board members. Actually, who are the people living there? They are all poor people. They are mostly orphan children. They don't get food, they don't have any work. And here at the workplace, even here they are working. But the board member feels, no, they are not working, they are getting entertainment here. So what they say? It was the place where they had breakfast, dinner, tea and supper all the year round and free. And the board member was not happy with this. The members believed that these people are getting everything free. They have breakfast, dinner, tea and supper all round the year. For the whole year they are getting this, and that too free. Where it was all play and no work. What are the people doing in the workhouse? The author says that they had only play. They were all playing, enjoying and entertaining, and they had no work. Now children, when the author says like this, it is totally opposite in its meaning. This is the feeling of not the author. It is the feeling of the board members. The board members feel that the workhouse has become a place of entertainment for the poor people. And what are the poor people doing here? Here all the poor people are getting everything free. They have 3 times a meal, they have tea, and they are all enjoying. They are not at all working. Now this was the feeling of these gentlemen. How are these gentlemen? They are very wise and philosophical men. Now in the previous paragraph I told you that author, he uses a dual language. What he says is exactly opposite in the meaning. You know children, such type of language is called satirical. Right? So author uses here the satirical language. Now what is satirical language? We pass a satire. We speak totally opposite. Suppose for example, if someone comes to meet you and he is a very bad person, and what you will say? Oh, here comes the gentleman. We know that he is a bad person, but we are calling him a gentleman. So that is a satire. Right? Suppose for example, a criminal comes and you say, here comes the saint. You are calling a criminal as a saint. So that is a satire. It is totally opposite. Suppose a person comes who always lies and you say, here comes Satya Harishchandra. Now that is a totally opposite. So when you speak something opposite than what you actually mean, it is called satirical language. So here the author is using such satire. So he explains the thoughts of the board members and how the board members feel. They feel that the poor people are all enjoying in the workhouse. This was really a shocking state of affairs. Now the board is totally shocked by the situation in the workhouse. They were of the opinion that the poor should be given only 2 alternatives. Now the board is taking a decision. They developed an opinion, a thought. And what is their idea? What is their opinion? To starve either quickly outside the workhouse or gradually inside the house. Now that is the 2 opinions the board has developed. The first one is to starve outside the workhouse quickly. Starve means to die of hunger. To die of hunger. Either you leave the workhouse, go outside, die of hunger quickly, or otherwise stay in the workhouse and die of starvation slowly. Die of starvation slowly. Gradually means slowly. With this view, they decided that the inmates of the workhouse would be issued 3 meals of thin gruel a day with an onion twice a week. Now that was the decision taken by the board members. They decided that hereafter we are not going to give food to these poor people. The food schedule was totally changed, and it was decided that they will be issued 3 meals of thin gruel. What is gruel? Gruel is, liquid food. The food, for example, in India, when we make rice, if you add lot of water to rice and if you keep on boiling it, it turns into gruel. It turns into gruel. Gruel is a thin liquid food. Generally, poor people eat it. Generally, poor people eat it. There is no any other thing added to that. Only rice boiled to a high extent where it turns into liquid, where it turns into paste, and a little bit of salt they add. And what are the other things they are offering? An onion twice a week. Now that was the decision taken by the board members. All the inmates, inmate means people who are living in the workhouse, they will be given 3 meals of thin liquid food, that is gruel, thin gruel, and onion twice a week. For the first 6 months after Oliver Twist was moved in, the system was in full operation. So since Oliver Twist joined the workhouse, from that time onwards for 6 months this system was in full operation. As a result, now what happens when you don't get food? What you need? Naturally you will grow weak. So as a result, during this period, the number of workhouse inmates got smaller. They got smaller, and the inmates themselves shrank in size and became thinner. They became thinner. The children, the people who are there in the workhouse, they were not getting food now. They were only getting gruel. So as a result of this, within the next 6 months, the people became thinner. When you don't get food sufficiently, you grow thin. But how are the gentlemen? Are you able to understand? The gentlemen were all fat, very fat. So they eat a lot, but when it comes to feeding the poor people, the orphan people, they become very wise, they become very philosophical, and they believe that they are here only for entertainment, and these people should be given only 2 alternatives. Either you go out and die quickly because of starvation, because of hunger, or otherwise you stay here in the workhouse and die gradually because of hunger, because of starvation. Right? So with that background, let us see further. The room in which the boys were fed was a large stone hall with a big copper bowl at one end, out of which the master, dressed in an apron for the purpose and assisted by 1 or 2 women, ladled the gruel at meal time. Now here he explains how the food is served, and you can see the picture given there. In the picture, you can see the hall where the master comes and stands. He has a ladle. Ladle is a big spoon with which gruel is supplied. So the master comes. He is dressed in an apron. What is an apron? Apron is a long coat. Generally the cooks in hotels or restaurants wear it. That is called apron. So he is dressed in apron, and he is assisted by 2 women, and they stand in the middle of the hall, and with the ladle they will supply the gruel to all the inmates of the workhouse. See further. Of this festive composition, each boy had 1 basinful. Each boy will get 1 basinful of the gruel, and no more. That's all. Only 1 ladle or 1 basinful. That's all. No more gruel. And no more, except on occasions of great public rejoice, when he had 2 ounces and a quarter of bread besides. So only in case of great public rejoices. Great public rejoices here refers to festivals. So in case if it is a festival, they may even be given bread. But otherwise, they were getting only and only thin gruel. That also only one basinful. So what you have to understand here is that the food of all the inmates, all the children, the people who work in the workhouse was limited. They were not given food. They were given only gruel, and that too very limited, only one basinful. As a result, what had happened? All the children in the orphanage, in the workhouse, they had grown very thin. Now this system started because of the decision taken by the board. And how is the board? The board is wise and philosophical. They realized that the people in the workhouse were all having entertainment. So they decided that these people should be given only two options: either go out and die quickly because of hunger, because of starvation, or otherwise stay in the workhouse and die gradually because of starvation. So in both the cases, death is common. You are going to die because of hunger. So let us see further. The basins never wanted washing. Basins is the bowl in which the children used to have the gruel. Now the gruel, it need not be eaten by hands. It's a thin liquid. You simply have to lift it and drink it. So the basins never wanted washing. You need not wash it. Why? See there. The boys polished them with their spoons till they shone again. The boys polished them with their spoons. Here, it doesn't mean that the boys are cleaning it. The boys are so hungry. The boys are so hungry that they don't want to leave even a small splash of the gruel. They are so hungry. They don't leave any food in the bowl, in the basin. They clean everything. They lick every bit of the gruel. They are so hungry. So the author says, the boys polished them with their spoons till they shone again. Shone, shine, shone, shone. Shining means the basins again used to start shining without cleaning. When they had performed this operation, they would sit staring at the copper bowl. They will stare at the copper. Stare means looking continuously at the copper bowl. Copper bowl is the large bowl kept in the middle, from where the gruel is supplied to all the children. So when they have finished, what they do, they will sit staring at the copper bowl with such eager eyes as if they could have devoured the big bowl itself and everything in it. The children are really hungry. What is given to them is not sufficient. So how they look at the copper bowl? They look at the copper bowl very eagerly, very interestingly, enthusiastically. As if you leave them, they are going to devour the complete bowl. They are going to devour. Devour means eating. They will eat the bowl itself. They are so hungry. At the same time, they sucked their fingers most carefully to catch up any stray splashes of gruel that might have stuck thereon. So even they will lick their fingers. They will suck their fingers. So why? Because maybe by chance, one or two splashes, 2 drops may be there on their fingers. So literally it means the children were really hungry. They wanted more, but it wasn't given to them. The food supply was limited. Only one basinful 3 times a day. That's all. So see what happens there. The boys have generally excellent appetite. Boys have generally excellent appetite. Appetite means hunger. The boys generally eat more. Boys generally eat more. They have excellent appetite. Oliver Twist and his companions suffered the torture of slow starvation for 3 months. Oliver and his friends, they were suffering the torture. Every time they are hungry, they want food, but they are not given food. They were starving. Starving means dying of hunger. They were dying of hunger. They wanted food, but they were not getting. So this torture was continuing for 3 months. So at last, they got so voracious and wild with hunger that one boy who was tall for his age and hadn't been used to that sort of thing hinted darkly to his companions that unless he had another basin of gruel per day, he was afraid he might some night happen to eat the boy who slept next to him, who happened to be a weakly youth of tender age. Now see what is happening here in this para. Right? So children are really hungry. They are unable to bear the torture of starvation. So what happened? One day, one boy who was tall compared to other boys, he got so voracious. Voracious means, angry and wild because of hunger, that he declared. What he declared? He said that if I don't get another bowl of gruel, then at some night I may eat the person who sleeps next to me, and definitely that will be a small tender boy. Small tender boy. So the tall boy, he declared that I am really hungry. If I don't get an extra bowl of gruel, definitely I am going to kill the boy. The boy who is the smallest, the boy who is the tender, I'll kill him and eat him. Now, can you guess who is the little boy in this entire workhouse? It is little Oliver. So this boy declared. What he said? He was afraid he might some night happen to eat the boy who slept next to him. So he declared that I am going to eat the boy who slept next to him, who happened to be a weakly youth of tender age. So he should be weak and he should be tender, very small or very little in age. So definitely it was little Oliver. So Oliver had become a target of among the poor people. He had a wild, hungry eye and they believed him. He means the tall boy who declared that I am going to kill someone and eat him if I don't get another bowl of gruel. So all other children looked at him. He had a wild, hungry eye and they believed him. All children believed that definitely if this boy doesn't get an extra bowl of gruel, he will definitely kill. All other believed him. So what happened? See, a council was held. A meeting was held. Lots were cast as to who should walk up to the master after supper that evening and ask for more. And it fell to Oliver Twist. Now this is what happening. A meeting was held, meeting of all the children, and they decided that who is going to ask for more. Now that is the name of the lesson. Oliver asks for more. Now what is that more? What are they are going to ask for more? They are going to ask for more gruel. They are going to ask for more gruel. Now that is the title of the lesson, you can understand. So meeting was held among the children and they decided that after the supper, that is dinner, after the supper, who was going to ask for more? Who was going to ask for more? And the responsibility and the duty was given to Oliver Twist. Oliver, you have to go and ask. Now why Oliver was chosen? Because Oliver was the youngest, he was the weakest, and he was of a very tender age. Now that is what the tall boy said. If I don't get an extra bowl of gruel every day, then I am going to eat the boy who slept next to me, and that boy should be the weak and of the tender age. Now definitely it was Oliver Twist. So Oliver was given the job of going and asking for an extra bowl of gruel. Now let us see what happens then. The evening arrived. The boys took their places. The master, in his cook's uniform, stationed himself at the copper. Copper here refers to the big bowl. from which the gruel is supplied. So the master, he stationed himself. Stationed means he came and stood near the copper. His assistants ranged themselves behind him. The gruel was served out. The gruel was served out to all the children. How much gruel? One basin full. The gruel disappeared. The gruel disappeared. It was over. It was finished. So everyone was given one basin full and it was finished. The boys whispered to each other. Now the boys are talking slowly. Whispering means talking slowly to each other. And winked at Oliver. Winked means closing your one eye. So one of the boy winked at Oliver. Go and ask for more. Go and ask for more. While his next neighbor nudged him. Right? One boy, he winked to Oliver to go and ask for more. Whereas the boy who was sitting next to Oliver, he simply nudged him. Nudged means pushing him. So he pushed him. Child as he was desperate with hunger. Now even Oliver was desperate with hunger. He was also helpless. Even he wanted some more gruel. And reckless with misery. He was reckless. He had become very careless. Whatever happens, let it happen. But I am going to ask for more. So he had become helpless. He rose from the table and advancing to the master. Advancing means going towards the master. Basin and spoon in hand. With a basin and spoon in hand. And said, somewhat alarmed at his own courage. He was alarmed, he was worried, he was tensed at his own courage. He couldn't believe that he was going to ask for more. My God, see there what happens. He goes and he says, please, sir, I want some more. No, he has done the job. He says, please, sir, I want some more. What is that more? What is the more he wants? He wants some more of gruel. Why he wants some more of gruel? He's a little kid. They were all starving because of hunger. They were not given sufficient food there. In the name of food, they were being served only thin gruel. They could not tolerate such a torture. So the little boy, he somehow mustered up confidence and went and asked. He said, please, sir, I want some more. The master was a fat, healthy man, but he turned pale. When the master heard this thing, how is the master? He is a healthy, fat man. But when he heard the boy's word, he became pale, he became dull, he was shocked. He gazed in stupefied astonishment on the small rebel for some second. He was surprised and he was looking at the little boy. He calls the little boy as a rebel and then clung for a support to the copper. He just clung, he held the copper to take support. He was totally shocked. Now, is this reaction natural? Has he to react so much? Yes, definitely, because till now, no one had asked for more. No one had asked for more. And this boy, he asked. The master was totally shocked. See his reaction. His face become pale. His face become dull. He took the support of the copper to stand. And the assistants were paralyzed with wonder. The assistants, the two ladies who were standing there, they were paralyzed. They become motionless. They cannot move because of this wonder. What is happening this? What is happening this? The boys with the fear. The boy was with fear. The boy also was afraid. Now see the thing. See the scene how the author creates here. The author has created a scene as if Oliver had done a very, very big crime. And what was the big crime done by Oliver? He asked for more. He asked for more. Till now, till today, no one had dared to ask for more. And this was done by the little rebel Oliver Twist. See the next para. What? Said the master at length in a faint voice. Please, sir, replied Oliver. I want some more. Now, this was the time gap taken by the master. He couldn't understand what was happening. So he was afraid, he controlled himself and asked, What do you want? And Oliver once again said, Please, sir, I want some more. The master aimed a blow at Oliver's head with the ladle. The long spoon which the master had in his hand. He gave a blow with the ladle on Oliver's head and shrieked aloud for the beadle. And he immediately shouted, he called the beadle. Who is beadle? Mr. Bumble. The board was sitting in solemn meeting. Now after this scene, again a board meeting is arranged. Now it was a solemn meeting. Solemn means very limited people. The board was sitting in solemn meeting when Mr. Bumble rushed into the room with great excitement and addressing the gentleman in the high chair said, Mr. Limbkins, I beg your pardon, sir. Oliver Twist has asked for more. Now see the scene. The scene where Oliver asks for more happened in the dining hall. From there, Mr. Bumble, he runs to the board hall and he goes and he informs the board members, the chairman sitting on the high chair. His name is Mr. Limbkins. He says, I beg your pardon, sir. Oliver Twist has asked for more. Now see there, after this sentence they have marked exclamatory mark, which means the people were all surprised. Oliver Twist has asked for more. What happens there? There was a general start. The board members were all shocked. For a moment even they cannot move. There was a general start. Horror was depicted on every countenance. Horror was depicted on every countenance. On everyone's face, you can see the fear. All the gentlemen, they were shocked to hear this news. What is that news? Oliver asked for more. So everyone was shocked. So see here how it looks. It looks as if, a very big crime was done. For more, said Mr. Limbkins, compose yourself, Bumble, and answer me distinctly. For more? He asked for more food? Tell me very clearly. Compose yourself. Compose yourself means make yourself very clear. And answer me distinctly. Do I understand that he asked for more after he had eaten the supper allotted by the board? Now Mr. Limbkins was totally surprised. What do you mean, Mr. Bumble? Did Oliver ask for more after what he was given by the board? The board has already decided. The board had already decided that they will be given one basin full of gruel. So even after what was decided by the board, what was he given? He asked for more. Mr. Limbkins asked things. He did, sir, replied Bumble. He did, sir. He asked, sir. Mr. Bumble confirmed to the board ashes. See the reaction. Turn the page. See the reaction. What he says. That boy will be hung, said the gentleman in the white waistcoat. That boy will be hung. What is hanging? Hanging is a punishment given in courts. You would have seen number of films, right? Death punishment. How are the criminals given death punishment? They are hanged to a rope. They are hanged to a rope. So the gentleman says, that boy will be hung, said the gentleman in the white waistcoat. I know that boy will be hung. Oh God, you see, do you understand now? Do you understand now? The author, I told you that it is a satirical language that the author is using here. The author calls them as a gentleman as wise and philosophical. Now, are you understanding how they are wise and philosophical? They are totally opposite. These gentlemen are fool. They are cruel. They are cruel towards these small kids, and they think that asking for more is such a big crime. that you should be hung for it. Right? See the next para. Nobody contradicted the prophetic gentleman's opinion. Nobody contradicted. Contradicted means making opposition. So what the white waist man code said, everyone agreed with that. All the gentlemen, there were around 8 to 10 fat gentlemen sitting in the board hall. Na? So everyone agreed. No one contradicted, no one opposed, or no one protested against the decision of the white waistcoat gentleman. So nobody contradicted with the prophetic gentleman's opinion. And excited discussions took place. And excited discussions. The board discussed for a long time over this very serious issue. Asking for more had become a very serious issue. So they had a long discussion. So after discussion, what happened? See there? Oliver was ordered to instant confinement. Oliver was ordered to instant confinement. Confinement means keep him separately in a different room. He was kept confined. He was separated. He was kept alone in a different room immediately. And a bill was next morning pasted on the outside of the gate. The very next day, they pasted a bill. What is a bill? Bill is a notice on outside the gate of the workhouse. Now, what is that notice? It was offering a reward of £5 to anybody who would take Oliver Twist off the hands of the parish. Now they are giving a reward. A bill was pasted. A notice was pasted outside the gate of the workhouse. And what was the notice there? The notice was that if anyone takes Oliver Twist from them, they will give them £5. See, they are giving the boy, and even they are giving the prize money, £5 to whoever takes them. So what is the thing? On the outside of the gate, offering a reward of £5 to anybody who would take Oliver Twist off the hands of the parish. In other words, £5 and Oliver Twist were offered to any man or woman who wanted an apprentice to any trade, business or calling. So that is how Oliver was punished. He was sent away from the workhouse. Notice was pasted outside the gate, and they offered Oliver Twist and £5 to anyone, any man or woman. They can take Oliver Twist, and the church will pay them £5. Now, children, can you understand how the situation is? The author has created a very beautiful, a scenario where we could understand how in a society the so-called rich people or so-called high-profile people, they treat the poor people. They think that even feeding the poor people or the orphan people was waste. Now in the workhouse, no children was being fed freely. All the children had to work. But though they were working, the board felt that they are having entertainment in the workhouse. So that is how the situation was there. So the author very beautifully brings out the poor condition of orphan children in the workhouses. That is what is the theme. What is the theme of this unit? Social issues. And the author very beautifully brings out. So that was all about Oliver Asks for More. So children, you would have seen here in this story how beautifully the author brings out the hypocrisy among the rich, the educated, the developed or the high profile people in the society, their views towards the poor, the orphan people. So that is the social issue that needs to be focused by everyone. I hope all of you enjoyed this lesson. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.